Hi guys, how's it going? Happy Friday. In this video I want to take you through all of my guitars, electric guitars, and just tell you a story about each one of them. I started playing guitar in 1999. I have been just curious about playing guitar, and I remember I asked my dad to buy me one, and they were selling these starter packs at Costco, and my dad one day surprised me with a $200 bundle. It was a Yamaha Strat, kind of a copy with an amp and just everything in one package. So that was my very first guitar. It was pretty decent, but not something that I would be able to gig with. So I played that for about a year and a half, and then this was towards the end of my high school years. I saw this girl who was in guitar ensemble class, and she was playing a Les Paul guitar, and at that point I had really no idea about different guitars, what each one of them offered, but I just liked the shape. She had a red Les Paul Studio, so I just decided that I needed to get a Les Paul. And in 2001, my mom kindly sponsored this guitar. This is my Les Paul Classic 1960 model. So this guitar features open humbuckers. I don't know how accurate they are. I think it's got chambering, like cheese holes inside. And it was just, compared to the Yamaha, it was like a Rolls Royce to me. So I was playing that guitar for years. In college, I started playing in my first band, so I used this guitar. I was also in the pep band. I was using this guitar, and it was just a good, solid, stable guitar for the kind of stuff that I needed. For equipment, I started using a Boss distortion pedal, which I just one day walked into the store and decided to get just a distortion pedal, and walked out with I think they were around $40 back then. So my sound became the Les Paul with DS1, just a nice kind of saturated sound. I know a lot of people don't like DS1. I think it's a great pedal, and as a matter of fact, a lot of people have been saying, how do you get that sound? What pedals do you use? And when I show them DS1, the DS1 that I use, they're like, really? That thing? So yeah, this was my guitar. I gave away my Yamaha at that point. Okay, so later on, I became obsessed with this band called Cramp in the Leg, which coincidentally I'm playing with right now, and I've recorded a song with them and have gone on tour. So it's so funny how sometimes life kind of takes you full circle, right? So the part of the sound that was missing on my guitar is the tremolo, the whammy arm. And I've been researching, I remember in college, just looking on forums what kind of a tremolo I can put on my Les Paul guitar. And there were collar tremolos, there was a Bixby, and then around 2004, 2005, this thing came out. It's basically you retrofitted without any drilling. You just remove your tailpiece, your two-pneumatic bridge, the Stets bar. And back then, not a lot of people were using it, so I just decided, you know what, I'll just go ahead and get it. And I put it in 2005 and never looked back. My guitar became this perfect tool. It has the saturation of a Les Paul, and then I can do the shimmers, the surfy kind of sounds with the whammy bar. I also, what have I done to it? I've well, installed locking strap buttons, and the tuners wore out at some point, so I got them replaced at this store called Norm's Music that no longer exists in Brooklyn. It's a good thing they don't exist anymore, because they just many times did such a sloppy job. I remember the tuners even, they surprisingly lasted me for a while, but just recently, maybe a couple of years ago, I realized that all the screws were not even like in place solidly, so nobody filled the holes with toothpicks and glue, so they were just kind of slapped together. And but yeah, so, and also, of course, it's been autographed by the late Les Paul. If you can see this autograph. I also put the number 5 sticker here. Sort of paying homage to Pete Townsend. Some people actually have been asking if it's like a signature Pete Townsend model or something like that. But yeah, so this was, aside from minor tweaks, aside from several adjustments and like replacement of the jack that got broken a few times, this is it. So the next step for me, this was around 2010, 2011, I just became interested in Stevie Ray Vaughan. And you can only get the Stevie Ray Vaughan sound with single coil pickups. And I started looking online, and this guitar caught my attention. It's been since modified, but it's basically, it's called the Roadhouse Stratocaster. And it has the same exact American-made pickups as in the Stevie Ray Vaughan guitar. So essentially, it has that sound, because as we all know, the wood the guitar is made out of, all that crap, like if the neck is rosewood or maple, it just makes pretty much zero difference. So I got this guitar on sale, and it was just, some aspects of it were good, and some of it was just crap. Like, I remember the guitar would not stay in tune very well, the saddles were garbage, the jack was, became loose, and it was just being really noisy. And I never really got a chance to gig with it in that kind of state it was in, until I started obsessing with Brian May. And I've been a big fan of the band Queen for years and years and years, and I even remember picking up the Burns Brian May guitar around 2007 in the store, just playing, and I thought it was really cool. And I just started researching if there's a way to modify a Strat to add some kind of a switching that was similar. And then I even got several kits, like Brian May switching, and I butchered somebody's Squire to try to mod it. Even got the same pickups, like these sort of Burns Trisonic-like pickups of Guitar Fetish. And it just never really worked out until I finally just accidentally stumbled upon this system from eBay that I ordered from Awesome Guitars. And with this system, it allows me to combine 3 pickups into series wiring, parallel wiring, in phase, out of phase, combinations of series and parallel. So this guitar became incredibly versatile. I can dial in any single sound. Brian May sounds, Strat sounds, humbucker sounds. Also on this guitar, I replaced the whammy arm with a solid David Gilmour shortened whammy arm. Put some cotton in there so it's very snug, very tight. Replaced the saddles with graph tack. And I put, still do, I put nut sauce on the nut and the saddles. And this guitar just stabilized. It became a reliable tool that I have since been using in gigs, and it just stays in tune, allows me to have all these different sounds. It's just amazing. All right, so the next step is I was still obsessed with Brian May, and decided to finally take the plunge, and I bought this green special guitar. It has since been painted. Yeah, so this was my next acquisition. Also, I forgot to mention there was an Ibanez sort of SG copy that I got as a backup for my Les Paul. I sold it to a friend. That guitar was actually surprisingly for $200. Such a solid machine. This, even in all registers, just like a $1,000 SG. The only thing is that the neck shape was just kind of uncomfortable for me. But other than that, it was fantastic. And as a backup, I never really got to use it, but nonetheless, I had it. So anyway, back to this guitar. I tweaked it. I replaced the saddles. Recently, I replaced the volume pot. I replaced the volume pot because it was just never kind of smooth enough. And I'll get to that later in the video. I'll explain the differences. But this is my Brian May signature guitar. Not my most favorite guitar, but something I really, really, really wanted. And then finally, this thing. I've been still obsessing with Brian May, and this guitar, even though it's a signature guitar, it's not an exact copy. There's still compromises. It's basically a Strat style bridge, and doesn't stay in tune all that well. Had also issues with the tuners, where the tuners were biting off strings. They're automatic locking tuners, and I got them replaced with regular tuners because I couldn't afford just the fact that it could at any point in time just snap off my strings while playing a show. So I one day I went on eBay and typed in Red Special or Brian May guitar, and found this. So this is an Italian replica that found its way to Argentina, and the guy from Argentina happened to be traveling to New York City, and he hand-delivered it to me. It had several issues. It had somebody tweaked the wiring. You can watch a video on it. It's called this guitar is called Inky. So once I set it up to my liking, once I just fixed some of the shortcomings, this guitar is my number one. It can do everything. So let's just go through all the guitars one more time, and I'll explain to you some of the things they're good for and bad for. So my it's called Jill 5. It's got 5 and Jill because the chick's name was Jill. So this guitar is just good for rock. It doesn't do good cleans. It never cleans up with the volume pot as my other guitars. It's like if you turn up the loudness, it's like silent and then just loud. That's how it is. Okay, this green special, same thing. Even though I replaced the volume pot, it doesn't have a nice smooth curve, so it's like it doesn't get loud in a smooth fashion. It just kind of like and then it's loud. So but this one, this volume pot is amazing. It's just, you can clean it up really well. Like it starts working immediately. So like this is my clean, this is my distortion, this is my full on, and yeah, this is really good. But the Strat, there's something about the way the pots are configured on the Strat. On the Strat, I can get just completely sparkling clean sounds on 5, and then just turn it up on 10 and it screams. It's like it's got some kind of a built-in boost. So if I'm playing live, I can just go from this clean like funk sound or whatever to just distortion that feeds back. So there you go. I like all of these guitars. The green special not so much because I have this thing, Inky. But for my style of playing, the Les Paul right now has been retired. I can't surf the volume knob as I can on these other guitars. So it's good for just rock, for pinch harmonics, for that kind of stuff. Humbuckers, true humbuckers is the stuff that you need. Maybe at one point in time I'll be playing in a band that needs just loud distortion, and then I'll come back to this guitar. But for now, Inky is my go-to guitar. That's it. Thank you for watching. If you like, then like. If you want to subscribe, then subscribe. Thanks.